Hello and welcome to the Horror House podcast. I'm Dave.
And I am Chris. We're two dudes that love to talk about horror from movies to real life. This week in the Horror House, we're talking about 2013's Odd Thomas. Let's get into it. Dave.
The adaptation of the Dean Koontz novel.
Yeah.
This is one of Stella's comfort movies.
Really?
Watch this to help her rest, help her go to sleep. It's entertaining, and it's a little different.
I'm a little bit afraid.
Also very familiar.
I'm a little bit afraid that my sister won't be my friend. Which sister and friend don't have to be mutually exclusive, but I'm afraid she may not be my friend by the end of this episode.
Okay. Well, I'm
afraid you may not be my friend at the end of this episode. Intrigue.
Chris, if it's any consolation,
intrigue.
I'm going to try to steer Stella away from listening to the things I have to say in this.
Oh no. One of us. One of me. But that said, we are no experts. We aren't really even reviewers. We do it kind of for our own fun, but we just like talking and hanging out and talking horror movies, also having a couple little cocktails. Dave, one thing before we get started, happy belated Slayer Day, which was June 6th. Rain and blood, my friend.
Slayer.
Jesus saves no one. I randomly come across that. I had to put it in my notes.
Slayer is not on the board. There is still hope that they would come on the show at some point. You couldn't understand a goddamn thing he said if you come on the show.
When he says Auschwitz, the meaning of pain, I feel like I'm understanding him too well.
Is he saying Auschwitz or Auschwitz?
Oh, well. You may have got him.
Got him.
So on top of that, or aside of that, got a Dawn of the Dead shirt from a little site, Bright Rags. You may have heard of them. Use coupon code HorrorHouse2 at checkout for nothing. But maybe a little let them know that we know that they know of us now. Got a cool little Dawn of the Dead shirt, and they gave, if you're familiar with Bright Rags, they give like a couple little trading cards, stickers, piece of candy. Piece of candy. And I forget the shirt that I got before this. And I got a Thing sticker, The Thing, and a Captain Spaulding sticker, and of course a Warhead. Excellent, great, good haul as far as the free stuff goes. This time, Dave, I got a Halloween Ends. I mean, it maybe it's Michael, maybe it's not Michael, maybe it's Corey.
It's Corey. It might be a Corey. And that is tragic, but also funny to me.
Listen, I don't want to be a Karen. I don't want to be a Karen and have to ask for a refund. But I feel like if you get a Corey,
I need to refund
randomly
the whole shirt because of the free thing you threw in with it.
Hashtag David Gordon Green ain't my man.
He's not my green.
Yeah. Get green without being David Gordon Green. It's you know what, it's kind of funny because I feel like I hated Halloween Ends less than most people. Or the internet at large. I'm like, I didn't hate it. But at the same time, I understand it. And so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely,
I get it.
It's definitely not the strongest entry in the Halloween series.
I do have a sticker. If anybody's interested. Or maybe a trading card. What the fuck is maybe a sticker. Double checked it. I think it's a sticker. Anybody wants to trade for something cooler? Me and Dave perused the t-shirt and kind of creative for community in the Etsy's and the Redbubbles and stuff. And there are a few select people making some Corey merchandise. We have some questions for you.
You are on a government watch list. I promise.
I don't know how you get off of it at this point. You're hurting us more than you're helping us. And that's coming from a person that wasn't even that upset with the movie.
I think it's kind of funny. But I don't want to spend $30 on a shirt that's just I'm wearing ironically.
Right.
Like I actually like to rep stuff that I actually like. So there's that.
Agreed. Which, Halloween Horror Nights is coming up in just a few more months. Have you got any scoops?
No, that's so fucking frustrating. There's a lot of rumors and a lot of they've dropped some hints, but like nothing here. So I do think we're getting Witch's Coven. That's an original property that they've done a couple times. So I think we are getting Witch's Coven in some form, but just I don't know. It's kind of frustrating not to know anything yet. It makes me wonder if it's something that is still to come this year, but that's cutting it awfully close. Like usually it's not necessarily something that comes that year and then it's the same year in Halloween Horror Nights, except for like they've done Halloween, but they'll do a retro Halloween when a new Halloween movie came out. They did a retro Texas Chainsaw when the new Texas Chainsaw came out. So I just don't know what it's going to be, right?
And I mean,
I'm working the OT because I do tend to buy Stella and I the RIP tickets this year.
Rest in parking.
Rest in peace.
Oh,
it's their version of the VIP.
I like it.
So it's less sitting or standing in line. You get front of the line tour to every house. And so Stella's back just starts to kill her from standing in line. She could do all the walking.
It's
when we're standing in one place that gets her.
It is some hereditary bullshit that our parents passed down to us, and right there with her. As an 18-year-old, me and my cousin Larry standing in line at a KISS convention to get Bruce Kulick's autograph. The only celebrity I've ever met still to this day. And totally fine by me. I love Bruce Kulick. We're standing in line as 18 years old. My back felt like it was just going to fall out of me. And it's only gotten worse since then for 20 something years later. Oh my God. I've never felt older by relating a story. It's hereditary is all I'm trying to say. God damn it.
Yeah. I mean, those things don't get better.
Yeah. God, is there anything that does? Because that'd be fucking excellent. Anything. Taste and literature? That's boring. With that said, let's take a quick break here in the Horror House. We'll come back and we're going to talk about Stephen Sommers, Anton Yelchin's. I'm afraid I'm pronouncing that wrong.
I think you got it right. I think you got it right.
Okay. I am so scared of things I can't pronounce right on this show. But we'll come back. We'll talk about 2013's Odd Thomas. The oddest of Thomases.
The oddest couple.
We are back in the Horror House. It is time to talk about Odd Thomas. Let's get into it. I'll admit, freely and readily that I did not watch this movie for the last 10 years. I've started to here and there, maybe a couple times. But for some reason, it just never like pulled me in. And so when this is your pick, one of your picks. I was like, yeah, let's watch this.
You don't have to tell everyone.
Sorry. Dissension in the ranks. But I mean, how many times would you have guessed you've watched it by now? Because this is really my first time, beginning to end. I'm a newcomer.
I honestly say this is probably 3 times for me, which is not a lot for a movie that's like a comfort movie. This is Stella's movie. Now I like it, and I still like it.
Right.
But
you've seen Martyrs. You've seen Baskin. You've seen hardcore horror. Sorry, I'm stepping on you.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I've seen actual horror movies and looking at it with new eyes, because I honestly do look at movies different since we've started the show.
I think you're right.
That has evolved.
Yeah.
If I had seen this again before I made the pick, I probably would not have made this pick. There are some horrifying things. There's some horror elements, and I do believe this is considered a horror movie. It's written by Dean Koontz. I've only read one Dean Koontz, and that was Intensity.
Intensities. Terrible Ted Nugent reference. I retract. Editor Chris in the future, remove that. Did this fit in? Because I've never read Dean Koontz. I bought the novel on my Kindle, but I procrastinated like a fucking simpleton, and next thing I know, I had no time to even attempt to even try, because that's the way I am sometimes. So I don't know the style of Dean Koontz. I don't know if he's dark and mysterious or whatever. Having read a Dean Koontz novel and seen this, I mean, did you feel any kind of Dean Koontzess to this? Or thoughts?
Intensity is this Odd Thomas seems very much like more footloose and fancy free compared to Intensity. Intensity is, and I think I've said this either on the show or off the show. I've said that when I first watched High Tension, which was my first doorway into the French extreme horror. It's not that extreme, but into French horror.
Right.
I thought for a long time that maybe High Tension was like a French version of Intensity, because it's very much starts out with a girl spend the night with her friend, and then the mom and dad get murdered, and her friend gets kidnapped. She has to follow them to the killer's abode and try to save her friend.
Right.
And so if you've seen High Tension, which I watched this week in lieu of watching Odd Thomas another time, but if you have seen High Tension, you can see where what I'm saying matches kind of what happens in High Tension.
Right.
There's some twists. There's other stuff going on. Oh, I get it. But
I can say with confidence that we were off air when we talked about this, because I remember looking it up, I think just a week ago. And there is some debate, if that's what you want to call it, about High Tension and High Intensity. High Intensity? Was that the right?
Yeah, high tension.
High Tension. Yeah. No, what's the Koontz novel?
The Koontz novel was Intensity.
Intensity, sorry. Intensity and High Tension. about being maybe some kind of connected, but apparently it's not. It's just kind of one of those, you know, it's like, oh, parallel genius thinking.
Yes.
Which is fair. I can accept that in some cases. Do you accept that in this instances, or is it a bridge too far?
I definitely do for two main reasons. One is that there's a twist in the movie that kind of takes it a whole different direction. And two, the book has much less clicking the bean going on.
Must say, when we ever get to high tension, which I feel like it's probably coming within the next couple seasons at least, that is certainly the one of the moments I remember most.
We've done a French movie, and we could do another one. I don't know if you told me, Dave, what's the next French horror movie you want to review? I don't know if it would be High Tension or Saloon.
The 28 Days of Sodom? Oh my God. I've heard.
I tried to find that and could not.
Holy shit.
Saloon just came out last year. It was. I would like to see it.
I am thinking of something. You're
thinking Salo, 120 Days of Sodom.
You've corrected me. Yes. That is not French. That is not French. Maybe Italian or German.
Whatever it is, it's on everybody's most extreme list. It's not available in the United States, to my knowledge.
I mean, through standard means.
Sure. I tried to buy the DVD and have it sent here, and even if it's all in French and there's no English subtitle, send it to me and let me see what I can
edited
get.
for your
Amazon's
security.
Nope. Amazon won't let me. Amazon's nope.
Right. Wow. I did not expect us to talk disturbing cinema before we get into Thomas.
Right. One of these things is not like the other.
We may get to those. We may have to do a series.
See what we can do. First time watching Odd Thomas.
Right.
And maybe not the first time watching the open, but I specifically want to ask about the open.
Right.
Odd comes out of his house. He's narrating. The girl is there, leads him to the car.
Mm-hmm.
Odd chases him down and kicks his ass, WWE style, at the pool party. It's a insane 5 minutes. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
You think about that, and did you expect that to set the tone for the movie?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I did expect that to set the tone for the movie, which, I mean, I don't know that it really did. I mean, maybe in a way, but not in the right way. What what it kind of highlighted in my brain, my stupid garbage brain, was, man, Anton would have been such a great Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's a great. I never have thought of.
I don't think I ever did either. And watching this, and I honestly, and let's just talk about him for a minute while we're here.
Absolutely.
Because R.I.P. A freak accident took him too soon, but what an actor that really was budding. And we've already talked about him, and I kind of forgot, honestly, that we'd already talked about him in Green Room, and he was the fucking lead in that movie.
And he was so good.
He was so good, and I think that just is to his credit. He's such a good actor. This completely different and completely unrelated role makes you forget that he was the kid in that movie. And
we've not talked about it on the Horror House, but he was starred in a movie that we went to watch. He's Charlie Brewster in the remake of Fright Night.
Fright Night, yeah. Which I was super excited about just because of David Tennant, who is Doctor Who again.
Even the Whoverse comes circle.
It all time is a flat circle. But yeah, watching the beginning of this, I mean, a little bit past it, but it really struck with me. I'm like, wow, if Anton Yelchin could have been in the consideration for Spider-Man, like if he instead of Tom Holland, could you imagine? Because like I don't hate Tom Holland, like maybe some people do.
I like,
but I love Andrew Garfield and feel like he just got shit Spider-Man movies. I think he was the cocky. He would have been so good in like a natural, like Marvel Spider-Man. I feel like in a perfect reality, a perfect timeline, it would have been Anton in that, because I feel like he bridges a lot of those. Like I love Garfield, but like Tom Holland does this that I like a little more. Tobey Maguire maybe does this a little. I feel like Anton Yelchin was. He could have been just like the bridge to all those kind of like this, a little bit more of that, but like he shows it in the first 10 minutes of this movie. He's got the like wisecracky kind of thing going on. He's got the wise assness. He's got the like, I care about people. I want to help people. And
he's so charismatic.
And he's got the stunts, like that big leap and then the fighting. Like that's not something he did in Star Trek, which he's pretty beloved for.
One of the things I thought, just coming in and watching it open again, it occurred to me like there's that's a whole movie there. You said, okay, what's the plot of the movie? Okay, this guy is visited by the ghost of a missing little girl who leads him to her killer that he must then apprehend. That's a whole lot of a movie, and this 5-minute open here.
Right.
But the other thing that occurred to me watching this is in that 5 minute, with all the action there is also 4.5 minutes of exposition. And that is actually the tone it sets with. The movie is so full of just fucking odd talking to himself. And this really breaks the whole show don't tell.
Yeah.
To its detriment.
Yeah. I agree.
You don't need to tell me about the psychic magnetism. Just having like walk around and like I just happened upon him. It's called coincidence.
I thought it was a little bit funny, like just watching it, and he's like, I don't have a phrase for what this is called that pulls me towards another thing that I'm looking for.
And then he tells you the phrase that he calls.
And then he tells you his girlfriend's phrase. And it's like, I know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, then why this? It just feels like that should be something a script editor would have been like, okay, like he's saying the same thing in a couple different ways. Let's trim some fat. And then there you go. So maybe that's a Stephen Sommers thing who, real quick, while we're on the subject, Indianapolis native Stephen Sommers, who's not really had, I mean, he's done some work since Odd Thomas, but really Odd Thomas is his last writing, directing gig. I've read a couple little like blurbs, like he's not cool with the Hollywood kind of method of, takes too long, this or that, the money, whatever it may be.
But so I'm glad you went here because I was prepared to go down the Sommers.
Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about him.
Yeah, let's look at what he's done.
He ain't no David Gordon Green, I can tell you that.
Scorpion King,
The Mummy,
The Tomb of the Dragon Empire, Scorpion King 2, G.I. fucking Joe.
Yeah.
when I look at his producer credits, I see Tom and Huck. I throw that out. I don't. I assume that's Tom Finn, Huckleberry. I don't. The Wonderful World of Disney. I fucking no.
He did the first live action Jungle Book, which I actually had forgot existed. I thought like the most newest version was the newest live action.
Uh-huh.
The only live action? No. Go back to the 90s, dudes. They were doing Disney live action remakes then. I totally forgot about it. And Stephen Sommers directed the Jungle Book with fuck it. There's no reason to get into that. But long story short, like if you don't like some of the live action Disney remake stuff going on, you've got like 30 years to travel back in time and try to stop it. Like it's not a new thing. And I totally forgot.
Deep Rising.
Deep Rising.
Catch Me If You Can, which is very underrated. I know it's based on a story. Catch Me If You Can is a very entertaining.
Is that Leo DiCaprio or is that Tom Hanks? Am I
both?
Holy shit. I'm combining realities in my own. Okay. We can't. We have to move on. I'll linger. I'll stay here forever.
Yes, but Stephen Sommers is solid.
He has a niche.
Solid.
He has a niche he belongs to and directs for. You know, and there ain't a fucking thing wrong with that. And I mean, he's very actiony. He's very in that. I feel like he's in that arena. And so
I love the Mummy.
I've not watched him in a long. We may have to watch him one season in the house because it's been so long since I watched him. And plus, Brendan Fraser is making his comeback now. But
I
Encino Man is tattooed on my innards. I watched it so much as a child. But I feel like his DNA is on Odd Thomas, for the good and the bad. But we'll get into some of the later aspects of the film as we carry on. I feel like
as long as we're on the cast, I want to bring up Arnold Vosloo, who was Scorpion King himself. Or was he the Scorpion King? I take it back. He was not Scorpion King. He was the Pharaoh in the Mummy, right?
I think I know who you're talking about. Was he in this?
Yeah.
What?
Tom
Jed.
Tom Jed. Well, I mean, I really don't know who the fuck Tom Jed was. But he's a character in the damn movie. And Arnold is he's the Pharaoh Ramatut from in the Mummy movie.
Yeah.
Imhotep. I'm sorry, he's Imhotep.
He was also in G.I. Joe Retaliation. He's like I don't want to say Big Lots Billy Zane because that's offensive. But he is like Billy Jane adjacent. He's like one square to the top right of Billy Zane.
Yeah, he's
no hate. But you'll know who I'm talking about when we say the Mummy and adjacent Billy Zane. Yeah. He's in this fucking movie.
That's somewhere. Nico Tortorella,
right?
Who plays one of the officers.
Yeah.
I had a minute. It took me a minute to place him. I was like, is he the dude that sold the printers in The Office? But no, that's not him.
No.
He is in The Following, which is a criminally underrated TV show about a cult. And he is that TV, and he did a great job. that is a criminally underrated show. And then, dude, Willem Dafoe.
I forgot, or maybe I didn't even get far enough to realize that Willem Dafoe was in this.
I'm pretty sure Willem Dafoe gave back his salary in exchange for them not promoting the fact that he's in this.
Yeah, I mean, no hate on Anton or anybody else. None of the mid-carders. But if you have Willem Dafoe in your horror-ish movie, you advertise that shit, dude. You fucking advertise that shit.
But is this the least Willem Dafoe role you've ever seen Willem Dafoe do?
To be honest, he's barely in it.
He's in it. It's not. It's like
you're right.
It's not Willem Dafoe. It's just Willem Dafoe's body.
Willem Dafoe as cop.
That's not. That is not Willem Dafoe playing that. He has been hijacked. His body has been hijacked, and someone else did the acting.
Right.
So it's not him, but
I think
he's in it.
My favorite part, like in a way, of this movie is how Willem Dafoe's character is constantly like pre-coitus.
Every fucking time.
He's like, I'm just trying to fuck my wife. Can you not, like, enough with your fucking... But he believes on Thomas, right? And I mean...
Does he not really want to fuck his...
Maybe he doesn't.
Because if I'm about to fuck my wife, I'm not answering the phone for odd time.
Yeah, like you can't call back in an hour, 2 hours. You can't tomorrow. Like the apocalypse ain't gonna hold on.
Give me 5 fucking minutes.
Yeah, come on. I'm being generous, but like really, what the fuck? Like you need to talk to me now. But fucking Willem Dafoe was like, oh, "What's up, Thomas? My dick is so rigid."
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to anybody in that nature. It's not. And I can
what
help.
Did you think about Stormy at Addison Timlin?
Such a cutie. She is such a cutie. That's the best way I can describe it. As
physically super attractive. There's the one scene with her tush is really nice.
There is some horse adjacent toe before that, and I was not prepared for that because this didn't feel like the movie that would show that. But I watching, and I'm like, oh wow! Like I had to verbally announce, like, oh, there that is. Wow. I was not sorry, continue. Has to be noted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And she's got she's got a little bit of horror credit on her own outside of this with The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Oh really?
Which is that's
the remake.
Decent.
The remake.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Not old enough.
It turns out she's 63.
Right, exactly. But she is attractive. Now, even her personality is cute enough.
I didn't like her character.
In no way could I have a long-term relationship with her character.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the same.
It's too much. No.
By the end of the movie, when like things considered, like story aside for a second, he's like, we couldn't stop kissing, couldn't stop cuddling. I'm like, I'd have been like, can you please stop touching me to eat my fucking Fruit Loops?
What? Hold on.
At that, please.
I disagree with you here simply because at the end of the movie, when she can no longer talk, she becomes more bearable.
Yes. I agree.
It. Well, I might as well throw this here.
Yeah.
And this may be the rest of the conversation. I'm sure it won't. They are such an odd, and I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
I've not read the book, but I did a little research on the book to see like what is this all about from the book.
Right.
They're both from kind of abusive backgrounds, and so they really are not very explicitly sexual. Like they make out, they love each other, and some for some people that's enough. But um, so fucking clingy and so on top, and it was annoying as fuck to me that every time she talks to him, she has to call him odd one. Come on, odd one. What you doing, odd one? Can you
Right.
bring me
Right.
an extra roll of toilet paper, odd one? Just it's just
I mean, do you think that serves in the misdirection of what happens? I mean, we're not going to scoot around the spoiler bush. This movie is 10 years old. If you've not seen it, go fucking watch it and come back. Because we
yeah.
are obviously going to go into spoilers, but I gotta say, I did not expect what they did here.
I
So is that a
I
misdirect? Or is that
I
just, what do you think?
I thought there was some foreshadowing. She just is so loving and talkative, and then after the mall gets shut up, she just stands there and she's just like, after the ice cream shop gets shut up. So
Right.
I kind of felt like something was wrong. I don't think I flat out knew.
I
It's
sure
been a
did.
long time since the first time I watched it, so I don't think I flat out knew.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure Stella had that called out.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean,
Because I didn't,
when
I'll
he,
be honest, I didn't feel that at all. Because by that point in the movie, I'll be honest, like I was not, I wouldn't say loving it, but I was just like, it's expected, it's predictable. So when it gets to the part with Stormy behind the counter and the shooter and all that, I'm like, well, of course she's alive because why wouldn't she be? That's this type of movie, right? Like that's what they've showed me that they're doing. So
it's definitely not a movie that you like. Oh, one of the main good guys is going to die.
right,
Um,
and I was surprised. I really was surprised.
what about Fungus Bob? Did he surprise you?
Uh, no,
Yeah. See, I don't think he was a surprise at all.
I think the only thing that really surprised me was Stormy.
Fair
Uh,
enough. I mean,
um,
like I said, I don't think I've really, but I had my suspicion. Um,
which
so
way to ruin the name of a sex of people, Stormy. Not you, Stormy,
I
but the
mean,
other Stormy.
you
I'm
know
like,
what? That bring up a great point, Chris. How long has Stormy Daniels been
to
doing adult
oh,
films?
do you think Kuntz was perusing some aisles and maybe seeing some shit?
Maybe.
Uh, I wouldn't.
Her first experience as a stripper occurred when she was 17, underage. What the fuck?
And there
And
you have
became
it.
a featured entertainer in September of 2000.
Holy shit. She's
Steve
younger than I thought,
Summers.
and I am older than I feel.
Uh,
um,
well, I don't. So those are two different things.
yeah.
Her first experience as a stripper was at 17. She became a featured entertainer at 2000. So that was after that. But in 2004, she won Best New Starlet. um, at the AVN Awards. So, and Odd Thomas came out 9 years after that. So don't tell me you didn't know who Stormy Daniels was.
He was a purveyor of adult entertainment, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
But did you? I certainly, every time they're like Stormy, and I'm like, that name, goddamn. And it hampered my entertainment to a small degree. At the same time, I'm not a complete dumbass, and I'm like, I can't understand anything because of that name.
Is that the same girl?
She's trying to ruin America. No, she's not.
I think
I wish I'd have put more in my notes about this, so I'd have been more prepared. But I mean, what else can you say, really? Can we talk for a moment? Moving on. Can we talk?
I feel like that's what we've been doing.
It's just moving on?
No, we've been talking.
Oh, okay. Can we talk about the kind of quirky, I kind of relate it to a degree, kind of Stormy Daniels adjacent, also Scott Pilgrim adjacent, because it has this quirky kind of atmosphere. And I'll be honest, I don't know the book. A quick look on the internet would lead you to believe, like, read the book before you watch the movie, that kind of stuff.
Never heard.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Whatever that may be. But I certainly feel they're trying to lean towards that, and that's the first thing that comes to my brain is Scott Pilgrim. Obviously not to that of extreme of a degree, but it is quirky throughout. So I mean, when it gets into the kind of final act, I was kind of surprised. But what do you think about the whole quirkiness of this movie up to that point at least?
So I like quirky.
Same.
So so that doesn't bother me. I mean, Todd and Stormy are the kings and queen of quirky in this town, but
right.
Apparently that's okay in this town. Like, you would expect the oddball to maybe be the outcast, and he kind of plays it like, oh, like everybody calls me odd, but does every chick in this town want a piece of his Wayne?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, good on you, odd, but
okay, so that's
clear.
It didn't take away anything for you, like the quirkiness?
No, not really. No. I mean, clearly it extends past them. The entire town is fucking quirky as fuck, because otherwise nobody would put up with her jumping over the fucking counters at the diner. Like, people are like
dry humping Odd. Like, hey, what's up, Odd? It's like,
when they're on the fucking scooter and she's snuggled up and she's like, pull over.
Yeah.
Pull over. I just got to tell you I love you. So we can go now.
Like, chill out.
And he's like, hey, just stay home. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm a woman. What? Okay.
Right.
Your dude's got powers. It's not like she didn't know he had powers or didn't trust his powers. She knows he's got powers. In a
way, I would have liked more, and it may have helped the franchise of it all if they had started with him trying to explain or prove his powers to her and to Willem Dafoe's character, right? Because we get into it and they just are accepting and know, and I mean, in a way, we're so fed up with origin stories and all that. So I to a degree, I understand that, but this is a
Is it
little different than a superhero movie, so it could have
exactly?
been
It's not the origin of the Incredible Hulk. We all know that. It's
right.
not the origin of Batman. We all know that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know the origin of Odd.
I don't either, and I feel like we skip that with this. You know, we get kind of thrown into like an act or two beyond like the revelation and the discovery of his powers. So I feel like maybe culturally, because of superhero movies, that maybe had an impact on Thomas and the story they were trying to tell. Potentially, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
Um, I I don't know, but I'm at a loss
Yeah, I
right
mean,
now
do you feel like
because
that's do you feel like that's the reality of it, or do you feel like they just wrote that and put that into the script? Like, they'll know. I mean, they've read Dean Koontz's seminal novel, Odd Thomas.
I think that's what the open is supposed to be, the Flash
Give you what
version,
you need.
yeah, of the Odd Thomas character, and it's. I mean, let's be honest. And I know I'm not meaning to piss off fans of Dean Koontz or Dean himself or fans of Odd Thomas books themselves because I think there are like 6 of them now. But I don't necessarily think he's really that deep of a character, and that is solely based on this. It doesn't feel like he's that deep of a character. Okay, he's got psychic powers. His mom may have had psychic powers. He feels like he has to keep his under wraps, so he doesn't go to the loony bin. But then he's telling his girlfriend. He's telling the chief of police. He seems to be pretty for someone who's supposedly keeping this under wraps. He's he's pretty open about like what's going on, you know. Um, so I don't think it's that deep of an origin story to need more than God. I feel like you get that in the first 5, all you need, and then throughout the movie you learn that whatever plot armor power he needs, time he's. I feel like it's pretty obvious. Like if there are more stories, Stormy's still in. Like that's pretty obvious, right? Um, that whole fortune teller ticket that says "We'll be together forever." Um, that's what that is. That's just foreshadowing that even though she's dead, she's not out of. Yeah, I stand by that. I don't think it's that uh, uh, character that deep of an or need more. That makes
Absolutely. You actually, I mean, saying that, that's a good point because uh, you kind of have sold the books on me because I kind of want to see if she does turn back up, you know, uh, more than anything. Like, I mean, the whatever, you know, lingering spirits or whatever, but like, is Stormy still there? I'm curious now. And you really, with what you just said, sold me on the idea of like, because of the fortune teller fucking shit. I'm actually quite curious. So you may have sold a couple books.
okay. Congratulations! I'm sure Dean.
I
Is,
yeah. Um,
um,
my next question,
sure.
beyond the stormy kind of stuff, the puppy love, whatever you want to call it. I would say my biggest complaint with this movie is the stakes of it all. Because I feel like there's an urgency that's not there. Because for a good portion, Odd is like, what did they call the creatures in this? Like that he
Hold on.
sees. Bodax. He's like, there's so many around this guy, and like that, an encroaching apocalypse, and this and that. But it feels like there's no stakes to me. It really doesn't, and not until towards the end does that start to feel like it changes. And I really wish that was different, because that would, I feel like, change the movie a lot for me. Because for a lot of it, it's him and Stormy just trolling together, right? It's like, I love you, and he's kind of like, yeah, but these fucking things, but also me to you.
I know the apocalypse is coming, but let's go have a picnic in the church town.
In less than a day, I'm like, shouldn't there be some desperation? And it does eventually get there.
Dirty hippie.
Kind of. And I know they're I don't know what this is rated, or what they did rate this. I can only assume PG-13.
PG.
Which maybe explains some of the lightheartedness, but who's going to put Willem Dafoe in their PG-13 movie that's not Spider-Man? What do you think you are?
Good. I told you this is not William Dafoe. This is not Willem Dafoe. This is William Dafoe.
Oh, William, aka
William Dafoe. Yeah.
But did you get any of that where it just felt like there's no stakes here? It feels like it's just happening, and
there's definitely problems with that. There's problems with the plot. So this death cult, who all has same matching tattoo from a 90s fucking band. Yeah, and not even like old English script or anything. It's clearly like Arial font.
Yeah, I totally thought that it was the POD band. I thought that was their font. I'm like, oh, he just doesn't want to admit that he was a POD fan. Like, is this a joke?
So the original plan was, we're going to shoot up this mall, and then the whole time we're doing it, we're going to sing, we are
the youth of a nation.
We are destroying Pico Mundo.
Oh my God.
We are Satanists who spent 10 years of our life plotting something, but also like going to police academy to get jobs in this shit fucking town so we can eventually do this thing.
Oh man. Oh my God. That is the fucking funny shit.
That's shitty. That is fucking shitty.
But I did. I fucking thought for at least a moment, like, I didn't carry on for the rest of the movie. I'm like, this is just a mistake I made as a teenager. Which I don't even. I thought Youth of the Nation was all right.
Christian new metal.
Right. I'm like, okay, this is it. But it wasn't. It wasn't a joke. That was the whole fucking thing behind the fucking shit.
So it's a key point.
I thought, looking back now that it wasn't a joke, that could have been done a little better.
So here's, I have read, and let me clarify real quick. I have only read, if you missed this earlier, I've only read one book. Period. I have read several Stephen King books.
Same. Mine's Stephen Koontz. Continue.
I have seen Dean Koontz compared to Stephen King. And I sure. So that's like comparing
a Granny Smith to
Archie comic to War and fucking Peace.
Oh, that different. I was comparing the same apple to the same apple, like a different.
I mean, they are the same genre, but King is so descriptive, and he paints a picture in your mind, and there's layers and there's suspense. When you read a Stephen King book, there is actually suspense.
If you read a Stephen King book that was printed before 2001, if you smell the pages, you get high.
Okay.
Because of the cocaine.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's long-winded. He's long-winded, but like, still is. I love him. I fucking absolutely love him. But
I mean,
that's what I assumed.
To me, that's part of the beauty
of
a King book is like 5 pages where the antagonist or the protagonist is just describing like how badly he wants that ham sandwich and the why he loves ham and American cheese so much, and his grandma used to make American cheese and how to make the perfect a ham and cheese sandwich, and Dean Koontz, the same scene. Dean Koontz is like, he made a sandwich and ate it,
and then he shit it out,
like
and they
you're
play
not the
tag
wordsmith.
for.
Yeah, you're not the wordsmith. He doesn't have that subtlety. And it's great. Like there are good things about that. Intensity is no fucking frills. Dean Koontz books, and I only have read one.
But the idea
that one is very no frills. There's not.
I love that
flowery
idea.
description.
Yeah. Okay, I will check. I bought Odd Thomas with somewhat the intention to check it out before we got to this. Obviously I failed because I am a failure, but that is, I will get to it eventually because I have not read a Dean Koontz novel yet, and he's up there. I mean, where do you go after Stephen King, who I absolutely love? I don't know if we've actually talked about it on the show. I am building a Stephen King collection with these new otter editions. I think they're UK only, but I really like the spines. They're like these rainbow spines. Oh my God, conservatives, cover your ears, earmuffs. Colors. Fucking dumb fucking idiots. But, oh my God, colors.
I love when Chris is drunk by the end of the episode. Yes, let it all out.
Yeah, it's fucking colors. Could you imagine the spectrum of colors? But they look so cool. I love them. So I've started to recollect these Stephen King novels. And I mean, where do you go from Stephen King? Obviously I've read this and that, but certainly Dean Koontz is Stephen King adjacent and Stephen King related.
Sure.
So it's something I've always kind of wanted to get into and never did. So I am curious on his style and how he just writes. This movie.
Let me know what you think, and maybe I'll check something out. I told you before the show I have decided to start reading. Right now, I'm reading 15 minutes a day.
Nerd.
That's 15 minutes more than I was reading before. And I try to. I don't have the TV. I'm trying not to multitask. I'm trying to really focus and just give 10, 15 minutes. And right now I'm doing Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So
let it be known that Chris mentioned reading for a couple episodes, and Dave roasted me.
Roasted, yes. I was, yeah.
And I have been mortally wounded.
None of it back
ever since.
I take none of it back.
That's why my nerd is not as powerful as yours, because I don't mean. I want you to read. I want you to elevate your worlds, your imagination. Rise to greatness. I didn't call you a nerd. I called you a enhanced human. You're developing.
You are such a positive influence, Chris. I love it.
I'm drunk as shit. We've got so off track. I'm gonna. What do you want to talk about the movie next? Because I'm gonna go straight into kind of towards the ending on my next point. So what do you? Anything else you want to discuss?
I feel like we barely touched the Kodaks. What did you think of the design?
Better than the the Tommy knockers from that
Okay.
TV movie, but
Uh-huh.
still like vague enough to be kind of scary. I mean, I didn't hate them, but I didn't love them. I really, it was Anton's interaction with them that brought any kind of horror to the situation.
Sure.
And I think that's what it really sold to me.
Okay.
How do you feel?
I thought they were pretty cool. I thought it was a pretty cool idea that these things are waiting outside of our perception
Right.
and waiting for Dr. Pretorius to make a machine that could bring them into our vision, and then they have no choice but
They weren't wet enough.
no, they're a little dry.
They weren't
So,
fucking
but
Barbara
maybe,
Crampton.
oh yeah,
That is the high watermark.
the real question is there a movie that would not be better with more Barbara Crampton in a BDSM song?
That's,
And I say no.
I agree. I also agree.
Um,
But yeah, I like the design of I think it's the CGI of it all, like being 2013, which
mhm.
I feel like we've reached the point of CGI where, like, looking back at a movie that's 10 years old now, I didn't feel that removed by its CGI. It didn't feel out of place, but it also didn't feel like natural. It just felt like there's the CGI of the movie. Like I wasn't offended by it, but I didn't love it. And I feel like
What
that's
if
just the CGI of it all.
what if there were just a couple little interactions where they interacted with fire?
Like pushing into our reality.
Yeah, in the diner, maybe they knock a
Yeah.
cup off the table, or you know, something small like that. A couple little.
Yeah.
And this is what I had this discussion today with what separates in budget wise, what separates movies, and in big budget, well done movies, they have the budget to go back and insert those little things that really make the world alive. And maybe it's not
Yeah.
budget. Maybe what I'm talking more is Marvel. Um,
Release the
Marvel
Snyder
puts
Cut,
little
pussies.
things. It's little bitty things that really make the world feel like these are people in the real world.
Right.
Where so many times the DC movies have those just little subtle touches that that brings everything into the world. They're so close
It's the
though. They're
ketchup
so fucking close.
effect. Right. Like they're just trying, essentially, I think. It's just the ketchup effect for them. Like trying to get on that same level when you've not prepped to be on that level. Um, Maybe Odd Thomas is similar. Um, we talked about, in our Halloween 3, to throw back to that just a few weeks ago. Go listen to that. Doing a little Halloween 3 in your life. I
Never.
Yeah, I feel like his reaction in Halloween 3 to the kid dying from the snakes and insects crawling out of his Halloween mask, if they just show his reaction, would have been so sufficient and more effective to me. We have a little disagreements there, which is fair. That's totally fair. Um, but I would have reacted more to that. Just my mind trying to fill in the blanks of like, what the fuck is he seeing? I wonder if I know Anton Yelchin, no disrespect, is a better actor um than Halloween 3. So I can only imagine what he could have conveyed in those moments where like maybe those creatures, like we can't see them, but like them peeking through a little bit. Like what could that have done?
Yeah, and they can interact with the world because the dude that told
Right.
him they were called Bodaks,
Yeah.
killed when they interact.
And I do like that kind of cat and mouse thing that he has with them of he knows them and like they'll sniff around and like start to push forward, and it's really just kind of dumb luck that turns it around for him to be saved. I liked those moments a lot because there was tension when I felt like for a lot of it before the last act there wasn't.
Can I tell you one thing I did like
No,
last act that I thought was
you can't.
when
We're
he's
out
in the
of
mall,
time.
he's got the gun and he's going to the mall and he's trying to get close enough to get a shot on the gunman. And the Bodaks are surrounding him and they can't outright attack him, but they are interacting with him and holding him back a little bit. And then when he finally gets there, it's face to face, point blank, boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was such a cool little moment. So imagine if you had more little moments where they're interacting or doing little things. What if the Count Mouse was a little bit more
I
where
agree.
they almost cause somebody's death and he saves them, but also has to do it without the Bodak knowing that he outright did this. I
Right.
think that would kind of.
I agree. Because I mean, we've talked about like the stakes and stuff. And I completely am in agreement with that. Like that whole section, he's like being covered with them, and he's just like he doesn't give a fuck that they know that he knows now. And he's just like swimming, wading through the fucking heavy gelatin water that is the CGI. But in this moment, you don't care because it actually has some drama to it. You're there for it, some horror. And I fucking loved it. The whole mall, from the mall to the end of it, I was glued in. I wasn't really glued in, unfortunately, until that point. But I am in agreement there. Like I thought that was great.
Before that, it's more like a goodie.
Yeah, there's no stakes. I wish there was. That is my biggest complaint with this movie, and I don't want to complain about it because I don't think it's a bad movie. But I mean, we're the horror house, man. Throw us some skinned person to feel sympathy for before you throw them into the wood chipper. You know, we've seen a Motters, we've seen a Baskin. We can handle it.
Real quick, one last thing. I know we kind of got to keep moving on, but one last bird to dump on this movie. The girl that dies, the dogs attack her and the dude kills her.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, right.
That's not even a surprise. You showed too much of that dude earlier. We knew he was in the house. We knew he had the guns. We knew the dogs were there. There was no surprise in that he was in on it. Like,
right.
And fake baby cry, dude. But it was not.
I do like the kind of Saw trying to piece it together aspect. Execution, not my favorite, but I like, they tried to get there. It just wasn't like a 10 out of 10 landing. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah. That moment, especially, that was.
So before we get into our ratings, we have to talk real quick. Stormy actually being dead for 10-ish, like a few good minutes. And I gotta say, for me, like when it gets to that scene, he shoots the shooter. Odd shoots the shooter, and then he's crying because he thinks his girl is dead. And she stands up, and I'm like, to myself, I'm like, well, of course she's alive because that's this kind of movie. No hate on this movie, but like that's this movie. Like I didn't expect her for a second to be dead. So flash forward a couple scenes, and they're like, you need to move on. We're sorry, buddy, but like, and then you find out that she fucking died then. I was like, holy shit. Are you kidding me? And then it became so heavy. I was not expecting that. And I wish, I mean, you can't do a whole movie with that and it be marketable. But I wish there was some more of that kind of unexpectedness, that something like the last 10% of this movie I thought was wow, because it was unexpected.
Unexpected ghost sex.
Yeah, what did you think of Stormy being dead? Like, did you expect that? Were you just like,
kind of like I said, I kind of, it didn't surprise me. I could have gone either way, but it didn't really surprise me. I had an inkling that maybe she was dead.
Really?
Especially when he's narrating at the end and she's not got shit to say. That bitch did not shut up. Like I said, and I'm very certain after the first time we watched it, Stella was like, "Oh yeah, I saw that a mile away. I knew she was dead before all ever started." And if you watch it a second time, there's a lot of foreshadow to that. So, like I'm 100% certain, not having read a book, not having known shit about Odd Thomas outside of this movie, I'm 100% certain she's still with him in these other movies, like guide, spirit guide.
I am. I'll report back if
all right, yeah. I would love to know if I was wrong. I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, you've got me curious.
But I did not think it was.
Yeah. Well, let's. That said,
here's the question. Here's the real question: is he having sex with Stormy at the end? Ghost Story. Him and Ghost Story are making out. Are they having ghost sex? And if they are, then in the real world, when everyone kind of walks in and says, "Give it up, buddy, it's over. You got to come out of the house," do they just see like splooge everywhere where he was banging Stormy, but her ghost body can't? So he just shoots a splooge on the couch. And
who painted this wall, Odd? This is like so streamy.
Has Jackson Pollock paid you a visit recently?
Anybody that's stuck with the podcast this long has now left, so we can say whatever we want now.
We pretty much do say whatever. We're bastions.
Yeah, don't say that word. Oh, I thought you said Baskin.
We are baskins of.
Let's hit a break real quick. We'll come back and let's get to our overall thoughts and opinions on this before we close the doors on the horror house one more week. We are back in the horror house. It is time to rate this bitch. I'll go first since this was Dave's pick. I don't love this movie, but I don't hate it either. I doubt I'll go back to is the thing. Unless I read the books and like really enjoy them, I don't see a lot of going back to it. I need more horror here, more desperation. Like for the apocalypse to be right around the fucking like eye blink. It doesn't feel like it is here. There's no stakes. That's my main point of contrition. Like, I wish there was more like, we have got to go check out this bowling alley or it's too late. It's all over if we don't, and I feel like it's too quirky for its own good. Like, and some of that is great, but I feel like they go too much with this, and for sake of the stakes of the whole shindig, the urgency, the desperation, the despair. We need to be on the edge of our seats for this. So when it gets to that last 10%, I don't know if I'm being generous or the other way. I was actually kind of glued to my seat for that. Like once the whole mall sequence starts, I was like, wow, okay, I'm on fucking board. Where I unfortunately wasn't for the first 90% of it. Unfortunately, I was not glued. And I don't think it's because of the actiony stuff. But like there was a meaning for what was happening there that wasn't there prior to. And then the surprise with Stormy and all that, I was like, holy shit, I didn't expect like emotion. And obviously they can deliver the emotion. Holy shit, Anton and fucking Willem like deliver in that moment. I mean, it's not that I couldn't believe, but I was not expecting. I wish there was more of that, just being unpredictable. And and there's obviously sequels that won't happen because R.I.P. Anton, taken too soon. Freak accident, super unfortunate. Like such a fucking great actor. But for me, that said, 6.5.
Okay. Let me start off by saying I was incredibly incorrect in my guess of your rating. I will reveal what I thought you would be. I think the biggest problem with this movie is that this is ostensibly a horror comedy, but it doesn't do the horror very well, and it doesn't do the comedy very well.
Fair.
I just don't feel like it's there. Like when he rolls up Fungus Bob the carpet, he says something like,
"It's me, Rosanna."
The world's biggest joint,
right? Yes,
or a burrito or something. I mean, just it just doesn't land. Just not great. The Bodaks, I think are good. I think the design of the Bodaks are good. I think the CGI is adequate. I would have liked those little touches where they interact with the world and just bring the world to life, bring the Bodaks to life that way. I think is a little bit more less exposition. We're not the movie has the exact opposite problem of the singular Dean Koontz book I've read, and in fairness, every other Dean Koontz book maybe not that, but the intensity is an opposite of a Stephen King, where there's a lot of talk and a lot of description of Stephen King, and the intensity was very bare bones. I told you what happened and moved on.
Right.
This movie does the exact opposite of that. It tells you a lot. It tells you so much through exposition, and we're not idiots. Right. I mean, some of us are, and sometimes some of us are. But we don't need that. And so,
right. Let us figure it out.
Yeah. I do think this is an enjoyable enough movie. And it's, I think, I will probably always enjoy looking at Addison Timlin.
How could you not?
Yeah, how could you not? I think Anton Yelchin is such a charismatic kid. Like, and I can say kid because I'm an old ass man.
I'm getting there. I feel like I'm slightly bored as well.
Okay.
For as cute as Addison was, he was just what could have been. Could have been with him. He's just.
Yeah,
he's great.
I don't think he's. He's not. He's very charismatic guy. So I don't think role is that great. I don't think it's written that great. I think it could be. I think it's a really cool idea. I think you have to more closely define his powers to Can he get glimpses of the future or no? Can he talk to the dead? Like he's got everything going on. It's almost this power creep that is unnecessary. There's just so much here. I gave this movie, and I don't know what you rated me. We'll share what we guessed each other after.
Right.
You gave a 6.5.
Yeah.
And so making this one of those rare movies.
Oh my God! Don't break my heart, Dave.
That you rated higher than I.
Whoa! No, I thought we were going to rate the same.
No, I rated a 6.
Really? No way.
And I think I've determined the reason why this is one of Stella's comfort movies is physically to look at Anton Yelchin and Addison Timlin, they're physically attractive enough. Surprisingly, Willem Dafoe is such an outsized actor for me. Like when I think of his performances as Green Goblin or as the lighthouse keeper or as all these different things, as the detective in American Psycho, we've reviewed Willem Dafoe several times.
Right, yes.
William Dafoe is much plainer looking and much more subdued of an actor.
Right.
And that's what we get here. So the reason this has become one of Stella's comfort movies is because there are no stakes. There's no tension. It's pleasant to look at, but there's no substance to keep you awake and keep you drawn in.
Wow.
Like I can't imagine.
Big fucking words for a fucking sis that fucking started me off on this path with American Werewolf on fucking broadcast TV in the 80s that scarred me for life when dude transformed into a werewolf. Now there's no stakes.
She still loves good fucking horror. When I say a comfort movie, this is something she turns on and knows. Don't watch 5 minutes and go to sleep.
Right. Do you think
because there's nothing to keep her hooked after that 5 minutes? So
do you think there's
lets her
any chance? Do you think there's any chance we could get her on?
Oh no,
no. This is a monumental ask for sure.
You better hit her up come February next year for your birthday. Be like,
okay.
Says, you know what I want for my birthday? I want you to come on the show. Come on the show, and we don't have to talk about a specific movie. We can talk about.
No, I have a specific starting point. But okay, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that in a few months.
So what did you? I thought your guess. I thought your rating.
Yeah.
I had you written down as a 4.5.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I did not think you were that. Yeah. And 6.5 is not greatly invested, but I thought you were even less invested in this than that. I had a couple things that I was like, maybe because he said,
they aren't wet, man. They aren't wet.
Yeah, I mean, if you're still going to read the book, clearly it's not completely trash.
Yeah.
Would you go and read the book, the novelization of Doom Asylum?
Yeah.
Just to see how ridiculous it was. What did you think my rating was going to be? What was
I initially thought your rating was going to be a 7.
Oh, okay. And
then as you talked more, I dropped it down to a 6.5, like mid reveal. I'm like, oh, I was a little bit off.
There were times watching it that Odd and Stormy are kind of annoying to me that I'm thinking, no, this is a 4.
Yeah.
For me. I thought it was a 4 for me at times, but overall I have to give it The 6th. I mean, there is a little mystery, and there is.
We are going long this week. It is time. It is time, Dave. We have got to close these horror house doors and get these people out of here.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Amen. But until next week, I'm Chris. That's Dave. Dave, if people want to tell us maybe some of their favorites, maybe their sister goaded them into watching some kind of very offensive, very gory 80s movie with them.
Into watching something.
Where would they tell us that so we can Wakanda forever with them?
You can tell us that on Twitter through direct message or just tagging us in a tweet. And that would be at Sweetness1 with 6 E's or at Horror House 2 because there are 2 of us.
You can email us horrorhousepodcast@gmail.com or go to the Horror House page on Facebook.
If you would be so inclined, you can leave us a voicemail while it's hot, while it's active, on anchor.fm/horror house.
And most importantly, share us around if you've got a friend that's into horror and wants to listen to just 2 dudes talk about horror. Hey, and you want to get involved? This is the place to fucking be. Get in there.
Hey, dude.
Yeah.
Want to get scared?
Yeah. Yeah. I do.
Or, Chris, one more new addition.
What?
Look us up on Slasher, the social media for Horror House fans. Yes. I am Horror House Dave.
I am Horror House Chris. It is mobile for the time being, but apparently soon it's going to be on the pewters, so you can get on there with your web browsers and check that out. And there you go. Spread the Horror House word, man. If you like us at all and want more of this, then just, be like, hey, Travis, I know you like fucking Nightbreed. And then what you do, you link them to the Spotify version of fucking Nightbreed. No big deal.
Or if you're personally friends with like a certain Clive Barker, you tell him, I know these 2 dudes that would really love to get a shot at doing something with the Nightbreed.
We won't miss our chance to blow.
Oh yeah, mom's spaghetti all over the place.
Oh man, but that about does it. We will be back next week, but we ain't bringing any horror movies. Next week is, dare I say,
real life horror.
Yeah. Dare I say, Dave, extra special?
Definitely timely, important, maybe one of the most important podcast episodes, or at least one of the most important topics.
Yes.
Of all time, but certainly of the current moment in time.
So come back next week. We will open the doors in the Horror House once again and let you all in. But until then, that's Dave. I'm Chris. We are out. Same cemetery, different grave. Get out of here, Grandma.